they could use to work for their own breakthrough in their own work?
Absolutely.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, I call it the safety bubble. It creates a sense of psychological safety that when you come in with that and then I work with them in opening up their entire nervous system, their head, their heart, and their gut. And when you're fully open and you really believe in the person that you're talking to, the person feels safe enough to have a conversation with you, to be a little vulnerable, to talk about, what they're afraid of. If they don't feel that safety, then they're not going to open up. So oftentimes leaders say to me, well, I just can't get people to talk to me. And I always say to them, well, how are you listening?
I just had a conversation with somebody else today about listening. So say more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you listening? That's the question.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? I mean, what's underneath that question for you, Marcia?
Well, it's those things those steps I mentioned that, I see listening, really listening, as a receiving process, that it's not an action that I take, that I'm doing to you. But if I'm comfortable in receiving what you're giving me, what you're saying, what you're expressing, and I do that, again, with respect, with an emotion of hope or calm or care or curiosity, and I'm there because I want to help you work through it. That I'm open enough to receive and catch myself if I judge what you're saying, and then let it go so I can still be open to receive what you're giving. And to me, that's what listening is. Is that the person knows that you're not sitting there judging and thinking, about what you're going to say next, that you're truly there to receive what they're giving, what they're saying, what they're offering.
Yeah, in our culture, I think we spend so much time, with a bias for action. We're almost in a mode where even though the other person is talking, we're trying to formulate what we're going to say next rather than really receiving, as you said, receiving, and really listening into what they are, tuning in to what they're saying.
I know. I often say that when I teach. It's like, so, okay, how many times are you listening to somebody, but in your head you're just, impatient for them to shut up so you could tell them what you think?
You said it, yes.
Oh, they all say yes. And that's worldwide. That's amazing.
Amazing. Thank you for those wonderful, wonderful nuggets. Thank you, Dr. Marcia Reynolds, for being my guest. This was part one of a two-part show. If you'd like to learn more about Marcia's work, and I sure hope you do, you can visit her website. It's called www.outsmartyourbrain.com. That's www.outsmartyourbrain.com, and that's one word all smushed together, outsmartyourbrain.com. You can also check out her blog, which you can access from her website. Marcia is currently rewriting her book called Outsmart Your Brain. And when you subscribe to her blog, you can get updates about her book and other go-to must-read topics about relationships and leadership and so much more. If you'd like to reach out to my guest by email, please feel free to send her one. She loves receiving email from you, and her email address is Marcia, M-A-R-C-I-A, Marcia, @outsmartyourbrain.com. Marcia's email address, once again, is Marcia, M-A-R-C-I-A, @outsmartyourbrain.com. So, join me next week for part 2 of our show, when we'll hear more from my special guest, Dr. Marcia Reynolds. She will be talking about, once again, holding difficult conversations. Her focus is serving leaders, but her work also applies in every other area of our life where we have relationships, right? And that's just about everywhere. We'll pick up once again on our topic next week, holding difficult conversations, and discuss her wonderful gem of a book called The Discomfort Zone, How Leaders Turn Difficult Conversations into Breakthroughs. We could all use more breakthroughs in our life, right? That's for sure. I know I can. As I mentioned, Part 2 of this show, Holding Difficult Conversations, will air next week, right here on Talk Network Radio. Now, you know that in my work, I'm a former executive in the corporate and human services arena, and I'm also a poet, right? I'm an artist. So I enjoy drawing parallels between leadership and the arts. Lately, I've been thinking about the work of a great painter by the name of Jacob Lawrence. In fact, I just went to a dance concert about a week or so ago, and they were featuring his artwork as they were dancing. So they were kind of dancing to his musical composition that was rendered in a visual way. And that work is called The Migration. In fact, that early work of Jacob Lawrence put him on the map, so to speak, very early in his career. He completed this incredible series of paintings when he was just 23 years old. These days, looking back on it, we call it an epic series, right? It consists of 60 panels that depict the great migration, the great exodus of African Americans from the rural South to the North to find work and to find a better life. And I just love what Lawrence says about art and artists. In his own words, he says, my belief is that it is most important for an artist to develop an approach and philosophy about life. If he has developed this philosophy, he does not put paint on canvas. He puts himself on canvas. In fact, whenever we look at an incredible painting like the Migration series or an amazing sculpture, we're not only seeing oil colors on a canvas, right? We're not seeing just a figure cast in bronze or chiseled and shaped from a slab of marble. We're seeing so much more than that. We're actually seeing the artist in all of her or his splendor. I love the arts because when we speak about art and artists, we could just as easily be speaking about leaders and leadership. Just like artists, leaders also have an approach or philosophy about life. And that approach or philosophy is how they lead. This is exactly what I'm teaching my graduate students in their transformational leadership program. They come into the program looking for that magic theory or that magic technique that they can then apply in their teams or in their organizations or in their nonprofits or wherever they happen to work. Now, in most programs, they leave looking for that same magic technique or theory or framework. But in my program, I teach them to think and behave and to feel like an artist. Why? Because they are. Now, if they are, they also must understand that how you live is how you lead. For example, if a leader's philosophy is based on a mechanical or mechanistic view of the world, guess what? It will come as no surprise to anyone that how they lead will reflect that mechanistic point of view, right? In fact, they'll actually treat people as if they were machines, as if they were objects or widgets or things to be handled. I remember, some time ago, my father died. And I returned to my job after I had spent some time in Michigan with my mom. I went to attend his funeral, and I stayed a week or so afterwards to help her with the many, many tasks that you must attend to after the death of a loved one. And at that time, I still worked in the computer industry. I was in the high-tech world, right? And I recall returning to my office bright and early one morning, and my boss coming by to ask me about some project report. I mean, I was dumbfounded, actually. I was stunned. I mean, the very first thing he said to me when he walked into my office was, "Where's the project report?" Now, he could have said, "Hello," or "How are you?" or "How's your mom?" or "How's your family doing?" But no, he didn't ask me any of those things. He just flat out asked me about the report. And before he turned to leave, he said, "And by the way, it's due on my desk by noon today." Well, I don't know about you, but that was not how I wanted or expected to be treated. I mean, my boss might have just as well have been speaking to a window or a door or a computer or something. I mean, for crying out loud. His approach, his philosophy of leading was certainly not about treating people with dignity or respect. Well, rather than raise the roof, I simply raised my eyebrows, and then I just dove into my work. I delivered that project report by noon, and I also delivered my resignation letter by noon. Now, in contrast to that boss, I've also been blessed to work with leaders who approach life with a servant heart and with a servant attitude. And guess what? Well, I mean, you probably have had a similar experience. Maybe you are that person. When you work for someone with a servant heart, her team feels served. They feel honored and respected. And everyone reaps the benefits of that leader's approach. Now, I know you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again. How you live is how you lead. How you live is how you lead, or parent, or coach, or teach, or worship, or cook, or garden, or even how you park your car. So here's a question for you. And it's a question I ask myself also. So ask yourself, what is my approach or philosophy of life? Great question, isn't it? What is my approach or philosophy of life? Now, most of us don't go around thinking about that. But whether we actually think about it or not, we live our approach. We live our philosophy. We live our values. And how we live is how we do everything. In other words, wherever you go, hey, guess what? Wherever you go, there you are. Again, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Marcia Reynolds for being my guest this week for part one of our two-part show. If you'd like to learn more about her work, connect with her on her website. And her website is called outsmartyourbrain.com. So just go to www.outsmartyourbrain.com. You can visit it, and when you do, be sure to check out her blog. You can also email Marcia at Marcia, M-A-R-C-I-A, at outsmartyourbrain.com. That's one word all smushed together, outsmartyourbrain.com. That's outsmartyourbrain.com. Now, if you missed last week's show or any part of this week's broadcast, you can listen to the recording. You can listen to the podcast at your convenience. You can even listen to it on the go. Wow, you can just put your sneakers on and go for a walk and plug your headphones in and listen to this show. Check us out at www.talknetworkradio.com/legacy living. That's www.talknetworkradio.com